Cuídalos mi virgencita, cuídalos mi Yemayá, oh mi Yemayá, quítame lo malo, oh mío, quítame lo malo y échalo en el mar, oh mi Yemayá, quítame lo malo y échalo en el mar, oh mío, Yemayá, accetto lo dia mamma, oh mille di suovo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And somehow I just lost my microphone. Hang on 1 minute. Check, check. Check, check. I'm thinking I'm having issues with my microphone. Check, check. For some reason, I don't hear myself. Check, check. Check, check. Am I coming in clear? So tonight's guest is Lelia Marino of Ms. Rain's Conjure Shop, who's been a practitioner of root work and conjure for over 20 years. Raised in Staten Island, New York, her paternal lineage has over 100 years of history on the island, with most of her family members buried in the historic Sandy Ground Cemetery located in Rossville area. Sandy Ground is one of New York City's oldest African-American enclaves. One of the community's greatest assets was the Rossville AME Zion Church, founded in 1850. The church was most notable member was Reverend Thomas James, famed abolitionist and civil rights leader. It's also most famously served as a stop on the Underground Railroad. Lelia Marino is a Reiki Master with 2 bands of energetic healing, is certified in crystal therapy, and is also initiated into the lineage of Palo Kimbisa. So let me reach out and bring our wonderful guest on. Let's see if we can get her answering. I'm wondering if she is having a problem. I know she was just listening to a live video by a wonderful person, so I'm wondering if she is still listening live. Let me try reaching out to her again. And we seem to be having an issue trying to reach our wonderful guest today. If she's listening, please give a call to me on Skype at the moment. So we've got Ifa Abeyo currently in the chat room, and I appear to have fixed my microphone issue. So thank you for letting me know that everything sounds good. So I'm hoping when we speak to Lelia, we will be doing some discussions on some charms as well as some oracle cards that she is in the process of developing. Now, I know Lelia was a little bit nervous prior to the show. Let's see if I can reach her on the Facebook. So we are going to try calling another time. Hey, good evening. So happy to have you here.
How are you?
I'm good, and how about yourself?
Hold on, because for some reason I cannot hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
It's very low. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you much better now. Hi.
Hi. I'm so happy to have you here. Sorry I missed you a couple times when I called. I kind of figured maybe you got lost listening to Ambrosine, because we all can do that.
Absolutely.
So, now you're a priestess in Palo Kimbisa. You're also a conjure worker and a root worker, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So explain to our listeners, as a diviner, how divining helps you within your spiritual practices.
Well, I need to be, I'm getting some backlash on this call. I need to be able to use divination in order for me to determine if I can do work and if work can be done, and then what kind of work needs to be done for a client and even for myself.
So like a lot of, spiritual workers, we divine on everything. And depending on the answers that we get, we either do the work or we don't do the work. And if Spirit says absolutely not, Spirit says, right. And it also allows us to figure out what it is that we actually need to do, spiritually for a client. What types of items may be needed, what type of ritual or cleansing or things of that nature. And that's all things that are done through divination.
Absolutely. And sometimes nothing needs to be done. Sometimes it's just a person's, change in their behavior. Okay. I get a lot of work for, well, not like, I can't say work, but I get a lot of inquiries for work from women who are usually trying to, they're looking for love, or, they want to hold on to someone that usually isn't healthy for them, but, at the end of the day, it's because they're a little bit stigmatized. So,
yes.
So, a lot of times I don't end up doing anything for them, because my whole thing is, especially when I'm divining on something, it is about empowerment, and usually what I have ended up telling women, so obviously I'm not getting, doing anything conjure-wise or Palo-wise or root work-wise for them, is trying to, help them empower themselves and separate from whatever they feel that they need from this person, which usually is just for, being familiar with them. So divining is very important, because a lot of times nothing needs to be done for anyone.
Right. And, and it's very important, and I'm glad that you brought that up. that there's a lot of issues that have nothing to do with bring somebody to me, make our relationship better, because sometimes you have to empower the other person to say, look, let's see what we need to help you overcome this, whether it's a toxic relationship. Why are you feeling the need to stay in it? Empower yourself to become a stronger person, to look for something that's going to absolutely help you, a lot better. And those are things that in divining, sometimes people overlook, in reference to doing spiritual work.
Yeah.
And they really do a disservice to their client if they're not looking for the client's best interest overall.
Absolutely. And usually what ends up happening, I've had one client who, I guess because she couldn't, get to me to do work for her. See, because the thing is that a lot of workers take on work without divining first.
Yes.
Okay. And there's several of them online that do so, and a few of their customers have come to me after they've gone to this person to have work done, spent an enormous amount of money, and just screwed up everything. Sometimes they would try to do like a breakup spell, and what would end up happening is that the person didn't want to have anything to do with them at all. So whatever work that they paid $750 or $1,500 for, now it ended in shambles and is disastrous. Why? Because that worker did not divine on a situation.
Right. And it's one of those things that, as a diviner, as a spiritual worker, and I'll use the word spiritual, in quotes, because you really, really need, to be spiritual and look at lifting somebody up. It's not all about the dollar. It's not all about, what's in it for me. It's, hey, if I have work that I have to do for a person and I know it's not in their best interests, it's not going to get done. Even without divining, if I think it's not in their best interest, I'm not going to touch it.
Absolutely.
And divination, because I know that you do chamalungos, you do oracle cards, you do charms. I mean, you do a lot. You also read shells,
Yes.
So do you use your charms when you're divining on spiritual work?
I do, and usually I'll use it. So there's quite a few people, probably, some people are listening now, that have come to me for readings, and they can hear me not only shuffling my cards, but my charms as well. It all depends on the situation, because sometimes I'll, knowing that I have a call with someone, I'll sit and, meditate on that person for a little while. And a lot of times I already know what they're coming to me for. If they're coming to me for relationship issues, if they're coming to me because they need, some kind of cleansing or road opening or whatever. So I usually know what I have to have on hand when that person calls me. So what I'll do is I'll do the cards, and then I'll follow up, because I'm a Lenormand fan.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so we had Lana on here. I was just like, oh, my God. So,
I love them.
I have practically every Lenormand deck that there is. And so I'll use those cards, and then I'll follow up with my charms. Now, I have a charm set that is actually fashioned after the Lenormand decks.
Oh, nice.
And I did a reading for my daughter, so I'm just waiting for her to come in. So whatever I did with the cards, it matches what I did with the charms, but the charms told me a little bit more without me actually have to break out certain cards to see why I got this. So when she comes in, I'll sit down with her and I'll go over her reading for her. But yeah, I usually do. And if it's something where I need to look a little deeper into a situation, then I'll go and I'll use the shells.
Okay. So
but yeah, most definitely the charms. The charms always back up. Because, they're the same as the Lenormand deck. They always back up whatever I do.
I think it's funny a lot of times, because I've done the same thing, with clients, students, and I'll be, either doing a reading or I'll be teaching them how to read cards, and I'll be throwing down cards, and I'll be saying, look, here's your answers. And then I'll use, I'll do Lenormand's. Then I'll use a tea deck. Then I'll use the charms. Then I'll use an antique deck, and I'll show them, I'm just like, all the same answers, a little bit more info, depending on which style I use, but it always surprises me and shocks me sometimes that I can do 5 different systems and get the same results,
Yeah.
So explain to our listeners who may or may not know, exactly what charms are.
Okay, so reading charms is pretty much similar to bone reading. Okay, so when we did the gala in New York, Michelle Jackson, who I couldn't wait to see what she was going to do with the bones and everything. She sat down and she gave like a little lesson and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, this is pretty similar to when I'm reading charms. So when you throw the charms down, you usually look to see what's closest to each other, like within a cluster, and that's the part that I'll read. So whatever else is further away, which is pretty similar to the way Michelle Jackson laid everything out when she was doing the bone reading, and she'll look at that cluster and read that cluster, and then push everything away. So that's pretty much how I do charm reading, and since it is pretty similar, to my charm set is fashioned after Lenormand's, it's very easy for me to read, so I'll just let the charms tell me a story. Okay? So for instance, I have so say there's 7 charms that all fell together. There's the snake, there's the fox, there's the fish, there's a tower, which usually can represent, a work, a bank, something legal or whatever, or it could, represent something from the past as well. So basically with those 4 charms right there, I'm looking at something that is deceitful regarding money and or something deceitful regarding the workplace.
Right.
Okay? So that's how I'll look at that. And then what I'll do, it's usually what I'll have is my cards laid out first, and then I'll back it up with the charms, and I'll go by the cluster that has the most activity there. So you throw all your charms at once? I throw all my charms at once.
Okay. Because, I don't do that with my charms. I do it with my bones. With my charms, I keep them in a cup or a bowl, and I'll ask my question. You can hear me playing around with them right now. And I'll grab, a pinch, a few. Right before the show, I pulled out the spider, the balance scales, the seahorse, and the anchor. And looking at it, for me, the spider is about, sometimes like a grandmother, but for me, as soon as I saw it, the first thing that popped into my head was godmother. And balancing the time, because, the seahorse likes to kind of float along. It's not in any hurry to get anywhere. It's very happy just to float and just to be. And the anchor tells me that, it's going to be a great show. It's going to be solid. It's probably going to go over time because, it's going to be a balance of, keeping an even pace. So I don't always pull out the charms or even cards most of the time before, I do a show. But I kind of felt compelled, before the show to do this. And the balance probably also was, me calling you. And going, oh, maybe she's still listening to the other show.
Actually, no, I was actually scrolling through Instagram, to be honest with you, and I was expecting the phone to ring, and it didn't. So I was like, something said, go and check to see if you missed a phone call, and I obviously did. But, yeah.
Well, hey, that happens. It's technology. It is what it is, I can't let any little tiny thing, throw wrench into anything I do.
Of course.
So how long have you been reading charms?
Oh, reading charms for me is actually a pretty new concept. I, was thinking of a different way to, this is when I was thinking of my oracle deck. So, I was like, wow, maybe I could, because, I shopped on Etsy a lot. And
So do I.
I also made bracelets. So I was thinking of, there was a couple of things that was going through my head as usual. So there was the whole concept of the oracle deck, which I wanted to pretty much, follow in the fashion of Lenormand's, but with a more modern feel, things that we deal with every day.
Right.
And then I was thinking of what I was going to add to some new bracelets that I was making. So I was looking at charms, and I was like, wow, I could look at the fish. That could be the tower. That could be the flowers. This represents faith. This represents a house. Oh, my goodness. Maybe I could do something with the charms that, follows Lenormand. And so what I did was, to see if my idea was original, which it wasn't. I saw that there were other people who were doing the same thing and actually made, instead of having a cloth, had like a board that they made, like, after the 36 Lenormand cards. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to get these charms. I'm just going to get these charms that represent everything in that card deck, and I'm going to read this for myself, and use this for myself. So probably about 2 years I've been working with the charms. I actually have my 5-year-old granddaughter doing the same thing. She has her own little charm set.
Oh, nice.
So
Teach them young.
Yeah, exactly. Teach them young. So, so really only about 2 years that I've been divining with the charms. And I love it. I think it adds a nice touch to when you're pulling cards.
So if you're doing as they're fashioned after Lenormand's, do you find them more fluid than traditional, like, Lorman card reading?
I actually do. But so sometimes if I'm a little bit stuck with the Lenormand card deck, because sometimes that'll happen. You're like, okay, what the hell is going on here? Especially if you see, like, in the beginning, you'll see the sun, you'll see the stork, you'll see the stars, and then after that, you get the clouds and the cross. You're like, okay, well, let me see what's going on here. Why did I get all of this? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll break out the clouds, and then I'll break out, everything that's at the end to see, what turned negative. Everything seemed nice in the beginning, but something turned negative in the end. But when I do the charms, will give me more of a story. Okay, so I allow, just like I let the cards tell me a story, I will allow the charms to tell me the story. And usually I'll be able to see more of what's going on instead of pulling more cards. So that's why I use the charms to back me up.
Okay. So it's not the same as, this strict sentence structure of laying down, say, 5 cards. Because when you're throwing your charms, wherever they're landing, however they're landing, what they're touching on, near, or anything else, gives you a lot more depth than just a straight sentence structure. I've never thought about, doing it from a Lenormand standpoint. I was thinking of it more of the, just a bone style, but wasn't thinking from the Lenormand aspect. Because, Lenormands are phenomenal. I love them. They're very in your face. They're very straight to the point. As long as you follow the basic sentence structure and the meanings of the cards, it's like boom, boom, boom.
That's something that I try not to do with Lenormand. Because sometimes when you're looking at a card, and you can, especially the original deck that Ronna George, the book that she wrote, and not her deck. I love her new deck, but the one that she actually fashioned her book after. When you start looking at those pictures, you'll start seeing other things will start to come to mind.
Oh yes.
Besides just a regular sentence structure. Or whatever you're supposed to see. Like, so for instance, with the coffin, right? So with the coffin, we'll see sickness. Sometimes we'll see endings, But sometimes if that coffin falls at the end of a sentence, like a 5-card sentence, it could also mean new beginnings, especially if you decide to pull another card afterwards, or throw down charms or bones or whatever just to back up whatever it is that you're not understanding as to why that coffin is there. So I usually let the cards speak to me in other ways besides just, whatever is textbook. But I love that book.
I love her essential Lenormand. I love the essential Lenormand, and I love the Rana George Lenormand. I love the fact that on some of her cards there are little nuances, like, the grave and the purple cloth on the one side, and the meaning, when you're looking at the coffin, it's not just coffin. You actually now have a light side and a dark side on the coffin. You have either an ending or a beginning or, a transition. And, looking at the little nuances, on her cards, every system has room for individual spiritual play. And that's, of course, once you get past the basic understanding of how the system works. Lenormand is not all completely strict structure. That's how they teach it because that is traditional. But once you've got that down, your intuition, your spirit guides, your ancestors, whoever you work with, will bring forth additional meanings and additional layers to each of these cards.
Yes.
Like her extra cards.
Oh my God, her extra cards are amazing. They really are. I actually have that, like I said, I practically have every Lenormand deck there is, but when she came out with her new deck, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to get it. So I actually bought a few.
I have a couple I've done that with.
I actually bought a few, but I do love the extra cards. And so when I was in the process of creating my own deck, I wanted to, the cards are beautiful. They're very beautiful because they're fashioned after her heritage, and her culture. So I wanted to do something that everyone could relate to, okay? So, and that's where, it is kind of, in the same line as Lenormand, but it's definitely different. The artwork is pretty simple. Okay, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There's no glitz and glamour or glitter or anything like that with those cards. They're very straightforward. And some of the pictures, when you look at them, they're, they're very poignant, but without being overdone. So, I looked at her extra cards and I was like, I saw the one with spirit, which makes so much sense to have it.
Yes.
To have that spirit card there. So I was like, okay, so if I'm going to do something, because there's a lot of people in the spiritual community who come to other diviners to seek help and guidance and stuff like that, because maybe there's something that they can't see. So I was like, well, I'm not going to copy what she did with the spirit card, but I'm going to have something else there that will represent ancestors. And everyone can pretty much relate to that. An ancestor table, pretty much everyone has that in their house, whether they realize it or not. So I figured that would be better for a lot of people to connect with that card and use it for spirit or whatever they want to. But since, we're in modern times and you see it so much on the internet, that's why, I have it there.
Right. And now you call your deck that you're working on, is it the Real Life Oracle?
Real Life Oracle. Mm-hmm.
So it's a modern take on, traditional Lenormand cards and images, but with a different flair to it for, real life situations, real life people,
Right.
So you're not using all of the same images. You have tweaked and refined and changed and came up with different meanings. I'm sorry, not meanings, but different images to reflect things that we go through on a regular daily basis.
Absolutely. I have one card in there that reflects civil unrest. And that was pretty much, around the time that I came up with that particular card was, during the march down in Virginia. When
Okay.
they had I guess it was like, white supremacists marching on, and like Antifa, and they were all fighting each other, and with all the Black Lives Matter marches and so forth and so on. So I actually have a card because it does reflect modern times. I mean, these are things that we are going through right now. The landscape of our country has definitely changed, and people's views and, where their alliances are and everything like that. So civil unrest fits into what we deal with.
Yes.
There's so many things that go on the news, and you're hearing, this just person was pulled over and they were shot and it was unjust, and everyone's outraged, which we're all restless right now because of everything that's going on.
Yes, I agree.
That card is in there.
You can find similar kinds of meanings, and I say it that way because it's not plain. It's not right there. I mean, you have to delve deep in order to find that. And I think that's an amazing card to have, because it is, in our day and age, with all the crap going on, all the killings, all the Black Lives Matter, all the, innocent black people getting shot that have done absolutely nothing other than having a different skin color.
And has caused unrest. If you look online and you see some of the discussions, that people have, and, it's just like, oh my God, really? Like, you really see how people feel. And there's some people who talk about that, we're at a war, and that's on both sides of the coin. So, civil unrest is very appropriate for what is happening now. And that's only going to be included with the first edition. So, so there'll be two releases. There'll be one, the first edition, that'll have all of the cards, which will include domestic violence, civil unrest, natural disaster, politicking, which could be, anything, not just about politics, like the president or vice president, anything.
Right.
It could be things that happen on the job, things within your family, when you see like where there's two, parties, in the family, and there's that unrest that's in the family. So there's quite a few, mental illness, God, what else do I have in there? There's mental illness. There's, the addiction card. So those particular cards are going to be in the first edition deck, but they won't be in the second edition.
Okay. Well, you've already got two people, well, now three, that can't wait for your deck to come out. Evelyn Bagorno can't wait to see your new deck. Ambrosine Laguerre says she wants 2 autographed copies. And I want one as well.
Thank you.
Because I do think those are, things that we need to look at, things that we need to, discuss and talk about. Ifa Bayo also says, me.
Yeah.
But these are things that, we need to talk about. We need to discuss. We need to bring light upon these situations, because not talking about them doesn't help the situation at all.
And I think a few of those cards might actually hurt feelings, especially with some of the imagery there. I also have, the cards that, represent happy family. It's not just a heterosexual family. There's 2 women with a child, there's 2 men with a child, there's an interracial couple. So it represents the landscape of this country and, as abroad. There are people actually, who are in, same-sex marriages and, interracial marriages. So it definitely represents us in modern times. And that's what a lot of the oracle cards or even tarot cards or whatever don't represent that.
Right.
So
they're all based on...
people can relate to. They can be used as also as helper cards for another deck. So if you're a tarot reader and you want to, kind of divine a little further, see a little deeper into, what the 8 of Cups might mean, and you can actually use those cards, too, to help divine further. So they can be helper cards, or they could be used alone.
Right. And E.C. Ballard, or I should say Owen Ballard, says reality. because that is the reality of where we live and what's going on in our, in our society these days. Amberzine says, that love bath bomb had me hiding from my beau.
Okay, so now she's bringing out my products.
Yes. Well, you are, Miss Rain's Conjure.
Yeah, I'm pretty diverse.
So I mean, you have your own shop. You do produce your own products.
To be honest with you, I used to work on Wall Street, and now I'm bringing in some parts of me that I knew I had, but didn't really think that I could bring that into fruition. But here I am.
And that's a beautiful thing. A lot of spiritual people have I don't want to say opposite, but a job that you wouldn't kind of think of, but they kind of go hand in hand. Like you used to be, on Wall Street.
Yeah,
I'm a
trading floor.
I'm a tech guy. My thing is always computers, networks, fiber, telecom. Hello, I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
But it's also, for me, I think it's a balance. We have to balance things until we can find a way and the right path that we need to be on to branch out.
Yeah. And I love what I do. I love, the people that I have met in the community. I mean, I had an incident where I was burned in the beginning, but I think everyone kind of goes through that, when they're first, walking their path. But,
oh, yes.
I mean, I have, people like Amberzine, who's been a true sister to me, pretty much helped me really find the path that I'm supposed to be on, besides, listening to spirit and stuff like that. So, I'm grateful, for that. I truly am. I truly am grateful for the people, especially the women in a community because I'm an only child. So, me finding like a true sisterhood within a community is also a blessing, because I've never had siblings before. I have a friend who is like a sister to me, she's on YouTube. She's a diviner on YouTube, and she's really good. She's like a sister to me. But I mean, where, she's not following the same path that I am. You know what I mean? Where,
right.
in Palo, I'm doing conjure work, I'm doing root work and stuff like that. So, it feels good to, Ifa, meeting Ifa, the Motown witch. I met her also, and it's like you feel like a real sisterhood.
I can't wait to meet all you. I can't wait to meet all of you when I come down in September.
Yes, I can't. When are you coming?
September 19th through the 23rd.
Okay, cool.
My friend Karen is coming to the U.S. from Australia, her first trip here. So I'm taking time off to go down also to meet her. And everybody else I can gather around. It's going to be a drove of diviners walking down the street.
Yes, and we need, definitely go for some drinks. Go for some drinks and some good food.
Definitely. Good Spanish food. No. I'm all about the,
so we gotta take it to a Cuchi Frito place then.
I'm all about the, rice and beans, the Spanish-style chicken, the tostones, the empanadas. Yeah. The mofongo house.
I don't really like mofongo.
They were good the time I was there. And that little place across the street, Kitty Corner, I can't remember the name of it. There's a little Spanish place that serves some really good food too. It's just kind of cramped, but every time I went down, I stopped. I fell asleep on the way home too.
I live on Staten Island, so although we do have the Staten Island is kind of like their shore. So we have the North Shore, we have the Eastern Shore, the West Shore, and we have the South Shore. And then somewhere in the beginning, it's kind of like a Mason-Dixon line. Okay, so although there are many parts of Staten Island that are beautiful, no matter what shore you're on, the South Shore is known for. I mean, now, in this modern time, I guess within like really the last 30, 40 years, for all of its beautiful big homes.
Nice.
And because of the demographics on Staten Island, we don't have places where we can really get some good, down home Spanish food, Caribbean Spanish food or Caribbean food or anything like that. So we're inundated with Chinese food, bagels, and pizza.
I would move.
I know, but I'm a Staten Island girl. I was born and raised on Staten Island. My family has a really long history my father's family, not my mother's family. My father's family has a very long history on Staten Island, actually starting in the South Shore. One of my great-grandmothers, actually she's my great-great-grandmother, and she died when I was around 19 years old. But she wasn't one of the first settlers in the family, but she actually owned a brothel. And she owned a brothel that's not too far from where I live right now. Okay? But I do believe that we have at least 150 years on the island. And one of the churches that my family went to, my father's family, that they went to, and where a lot of them are buried, around this church, was a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Right, the Rossville AME Zion Church.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I was reading that for your bio too.
From there.
And I think that's a phenomenal thing. The Underground Railroad, there were so many people, that helped slaves to escape. Even upstate New York, there were quite a few nuns that also, and I know this because, my aunt was a nun for most of her entire life and, did a lot of research, and wrote a book. I think it was called The Seceders, and it was all about, some of the pioneer women in the church that, also helped and assisted, during these horrible times. To help people to escape.
Real funny, a fun fact, and the listeners can probably going to look at me and say, no, I don't think that's her. But at one point, I wanted to be a nun.
I can't say much.
My teenage years, I spent the bulk of my teenage years with the Schoenstatt sisters on Cary Avenue in Staten Island. And I wanted to be a nun, and I would spend the summers there till I kissed the boy, kiss Bobby Rodriguez. But
and that was it. That was it.
Screw it, fuck it. I don't want to be a nun anymore. But for many years, I spent summers with them, and certain holidays as well. And I was in the summertime getting up at 5:30 in the morning. To wash up and go to chapel. And then after that, we would walk over to Sacred Heart Church, which is actually a church where I got married in, and go for mass, and then come home and eat breakfast. And we cooked with the nuns, and we did all types of things. And I had such a good time, and I was very, very Catholic for a very long time. Although I have dual roles in religion. My mother's side of the family, they're Baptist. My father's side of the family, they were Catholic.
Yep. Mm-hmm. See, I came from the strict Roman Catholic Irish family.
Okay.
And that was on both sides. And I think I turned out just fine.
Yeah, I think he turned out just fine. Do you still, did you make all of your sacraments?
No.
No? Did you
Nope.
make any of your sacraments besides baptism?
I think I did First Communion, and I think that was pretty much it after that.
Oh, okay.
I think when my dad passed, my dad was in his early 40s. I was about 9. And
Mm-hmm.
I think after his passing, it kind of, church kind of fell away.
Yeah.
For me.
Think for me, my turning point with church was after I had my son, who's now 20. And I had recently lost my job because I was pregnant again after I had him. I think he was maybe around 4 months old. I was about 7-8 weeks pregnant, which means I didn't wait the 6 weeks.
I heard nothing.
To heal up. And anyway, but that pregnancy ended in an ectopic pregnancy, and because of the amount of time that I had taken off from work, and then coming back only for like a week and from maternity leave, and then having to go back out again, I lost my job.
Oh.
So, which was unexpected, and unfortunately, because they didn't fully let me go, they had me on some kind of reserve list. I couldn't get unemployment. So my oldest daughter at the time was in Catholic school. She was going to Sacred Heart school, and I needed like a reduction in the tuition, not really for them to pay it, but because my husband was working, so just like a reduction in the tuition. And I had gone to the priest, and it was just like the way he answered me, because especially when you grow up in a Catholic church, the whole thing is about charity and how charitable they are, and how you're supposed to be a good Catholic and everything like that. And what he said to me was a total turnoff. And I looked at him, I was like, well, fuck you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought that this was what we were supposed to be as good Catholics. And then, it just kind of like made me look at religion and the people within the religion a whole lot differently. So for me, it was a turn off, and it was one of my turning points.
Yeah, for me, I've always been on the spiritual search, pretty much since I was like 14. And, I've been baptized Baptist several times, different churches. And what has always got me was the putting of our own people down. I had the unfortunate chance of attending this one Baptist church where one of their deacons that came in also had a criminal record. I don't know what happened while he was in there, but now he was hell-bent on his role of preaching about homosexuality. And,
right.
Instead of lifting people up, instead of teaching the love that God has, the good teachings of Jesus and how to live a good life, it soured my heart, because it was just like, how can we be doing this to our own kind, to our own people, to make people feel this way? And I love church. I still go periodically, because I still love church. I still love God. I love pretty much all religion because I think there's truth to be found in every one if you look for it. It's not all black and white in a book. I think they're love stories.
Yes.
But that's
the first 5 books within the Bible, which is something that as a child, because my grandmother, my mother's mother was very spiritual, and there were Bibles everywhere, and some of the things that I do now in root work were things that she did, but they weren't taught to me. It was just things that I watched her do. Some things I didn't see her do, so I'm not going to sit up here and lie and say, oh, well, my grandmother taught me how to do this, this, and this, because I'd be bullshitting in the public. But there were some things that I watched her do that I actually incorporate into things that I do now. But, I've had various teachers in root work, so let me just go up that for a minute. But the Bible was always, it was always a staple in my grandmother's house, because I spent a lot of time with my grandmother when I was a child.
So did I. Well, my grandmother, not yours.
So besides reading little Jet magazine and Ebony and stuff like that, and I think the Enquirer, which is the stuff that she had, there was a Bible. And like I said, I'm an only child, so I didn't always have a lot of friends to play with, so I read a lot. And the first 5 books, with the beginning of with Adam and Eve and everybody else in between, the story of Rachel and Leah, and story of Jacob, and all the way down to Moses and letting my people go, was very important to me.
Yes.
Now I don't really mess with the New Testament. I understand. I love Jesus too, but I don't really mess with the New Testament. The Old Testament to me is just something that's very important and very dear to my heart because there's a lot of lessons there.
Yeah, and there are. Owen Ballard was saying, he can see the weaknesses in any religion, but he tries not to mistake the failings of individuals in religious offices with the actual religion itself. And it's kind of the way I see it is, I may be sour on churches, but not necessarily the religion, because, I read the Bible. I read the stories of love. I read the stories of how to treat people, how to have compassion, how to help people. It's the stories that really make people more humane,
Right.
And
right. But I was also very young when I, kind of like turned, I was still in my 20s. I just was a child, I just had a baby. So I was still a little bit young. Eventually I did, start to embrace, God and Catholicism again, as well as, my teachings, from what I've learned being around my grandmother and my mother's side of the family. So I hear what Tata Owen is saying. I heard you. And I agree. But I was just really young at the time.
Yeah, and age makes a huge difference. Like, a couple of weeks ago, I had the Jehovah's Witness stop at my house. Normally I don't open the door, but, I did. And this guy had his probably 7-year-old nephew with him. And, of course, being in the tradition that I'm in, being an Espiritista, being initiated into Haitian Vodou, having my Elekis, he wanted to strike up a conversation. And I told him, I said, look, I don't believe that a child of his age should be involved in these types of topics until they have reached an age where they can gain understanding and actually understand what's taking place. I said, that they're too young. I said, if you want to come back on your own, I'm more than happy to sit and have a discussion with you. I said, but I can't do it in front of a child. I said, because they don't know. I said, they have not developed, to be able to look at things and be able to make their own conclusions and have their own thoughts.
Well, that was like, one of my grandmother's nieces who actually calls her aunt. That's how we do in a family, Black people do. But, because especially when that person is, very much older than you, an elder. So you give them that respect. You don't call them by their first name. But she's actually my second cousin. And she, was a Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. And I just noticed that a lot of, the people on my grandmother's side, my mother's side of the family, they became Jehovah's Witnesses for whatever reasons whatsoever. Okay? But I remember her sitting and having a conversation with me. We were sitting at the kitchen table. She came to visit my grandparents, and she wanted to argue with me. I think it was like 11 or 12 years old, and it was right before I made my confirmation, and argue with me about nuns being married to God. When they go through that sacrament. I've only had 4 sacraments. What is it? Birth, communion, confirmation, and then marriage. And of course, the other 2 don't matter because I'm not going to be a priest or a nun. And then, of course, there's your last sacrament, which is death.
Right.
So she wanted to argue with me about, me being 11, 12 years old, I'm only, repeating, what I'm being taught.
Exactly.
And she's like, well, I don't understand how you can believe that, a person can be married to God. And I didn't even know how to answer her. So you're absolutely right where, children should not be involved in those types of conversations regarding religion because our minds really aren't fit for that.
Right. Now, having said that, I will state one particular thing because I do feel that it's important. When it is a cultural thing, I don't see a problem with raising your kids within your culture traditionally and spiritually,
Sure.
because they still need to be around, whether you're in Ifa, whether you're in, Santeria, Palo, this is part of your upbringing. This is part of your heritage. This is part of your lineage. And this is things that they should see. And they should also be allowed to be open so that as they, age and they can decipher and they can ask questions, they can begin formulating their own thoughts and opinions.
Right. And see, my granddaughter is lucky to grow up and see the things that I'm doing now. She has, well, I don't know if her father's family, I don't even know if they go to church, to be honest with you. I don't think so. But, so she's lucky to grow up and see the things that are taking place when there's certain rituals and ceremonies that are done in a house. She's here for them, She knows how to, better than my own children, her mother, and my son and my other daughter, she knows how to approach the ancestor altar, and she knows what prayers to say, and so she has more of, and she's 5, so
yeah.
She has more of an understanding what's happening than my kids, who, they actually, except for my youngest daughter, went through their sacraments. Well, only 2 of them actually. No, 2 or 3, 2, whatever. But she understands more of what I'm doing now. And I think for her, she'll probably, be a lot healthier in her, thoughts on religion and, certain cultural practices.
And I agree. I also feel she's a very old soul that has,
she is.
that has come back, and she's got a very strong connection with ancestors, and I would not be surprised at all if she continues in her spiritual practices.
Well, you're absolutely right on what you just said.
I think she's going to become a priestess herself.
Probably. We had a ceremony here a few weeks ago, and she was, sitting here, and she was divining with shells, asking questions, and, okay, Mima, well, what does this mean? Why? Oh, okay, Mia, that's a lafia. What question did you ask? Am I going to get a lot of toys for Christmas?
Well, it's always the important questions you want to know the answer to.
Absolutely.
It's the other ones. It's the other ones when she says, does this boy in class like me? That's when you got to be careful. That's when you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Now, you have a lot of different products that you offer, right? Miss Rain's Conjure. Is it MissRainsConjure.com?
MissRainsConjure.com, because Miss Rain's Conjure Shop was taken, but it was taken by me. And I didn't know. Yeah, it's a long story. So I just renamed this website MissRainsConjure.com. But yeah, I do have a lot of, well, not really a lot, but I have enough products on there.
So what types of things do you carry?
Because I really am a one-man show.
And what kinds of products do you offer?
Well, I make, as Amberzine so politely stated, my love bath bombs. I do make bath bombs. Some of them are just like, regular fun type of bath bombs. But most of the stuff I do have on my site are spiritual, conjure kind of bath bombs. I have Glow of Attraction, and I also make the Glow of Attraction oil, so Glow of Attraction, of course, and body scrub. So
cool.
I hide some of my conjure stuff in beauty products, and the bath bombs and the scrubs are 2 of the things that I hide my conjure in. So I have the Glow of Attraction bath bombs, and I have the Glow of Attraction scrub. I also have Florida water. I make Florida water bath bombs that have, they're beautiful. I don't even want to put them in a tub, but they're, people love them. And I also make my own Florida water. So, people love them and everything, but I still have like a whole tray of Florida water bath bombs that I refuse to put in the tub. They just make my bathroom smell really nice.
Ooh, nice.
I
love Florida water.
Yeah, I love it too. And mine I use like all the citrusy stuff, so it smells so nice. I'm surprised at myself.
I even buy Florida water shaving soap.
Okay.
And when people see me using Florida water, they're just like, you only need a little bit, right? No.
Nah. It smells so nice and it's so cleansing. I also do, what other bath bombs do I have? I have a Love bath bomb, and that's the one that Ambrosine was speaking of.
She was hiding, but she asked for it.
Yeah. She was like, I'm going to take another one. But one of the ingredients, I'll give away one of the ingredients, and it's not just roses. There's a pinch of Damiana in there. And I like to work with essential oils. And I dilute because, you can't put, pure essential oils on your skin. And Damiana is not one of those that you can put on your skin. But since Damiana is one of the, aphrodisiacs, love aphrodisiacs, I use like a pinch that's diluted, and I put that. You can't smell it, but it's in the bath bombs. But there's other stuff in there too.
Yeah, well, you can't give it all away, No,
I'm not going to give it all away. That's my little concoction that I came up with. And most of my products are not. They may have traditional names, but they're my own herbal recipes. And I don't follow the like the traditional scents of, say, like Cleo May. I think that's a mix of lavender and rosemary or rose, but I don't follow the traditional fragrance for Cleo May. The traditional fragrance or my fragrance for Cleo May has a hint of Egyptian musk and also a touch of patchouli and neroli. So that's definitely something. It's my own little perfume mix, and it smells really nice. But I don't follow the traditional scents or probably even the herbal concoctions for these oils. They're all mine.
Nice. Ambrosine was saying, well, I didn't know it would have my love chasing me around the house. And Owen Ballard is saying, Florida water is like sex and French fries. There's no such thing as too much.
No, it is, and I love I love both, actually. and mixed with alcohol too.
My two favorite colognes. I always wear Florida water and 4711, and Florida's always my go-to. I don't leave the house without putting it on. I go to work with it on. They know when I walk in the building at work, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's been another kind of Florida water too that I actually like to use, and that's a Peruvian one that's used by the shamans.
Oh.
And you can actually find it. I sell it too, but you can find it in Lamont and Kemp's website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's more expensive than the Florida water that we're used to getting. Actually, there's another Florida water too that one of Owen's goddaughters kind of put me onto. I can't find it anywhere, but it has a really soft and subtle baby powder scent to it.
Oh
my God, I love it. But
that sounds like a very.
Panama.
I think that's a very
soft
and gentle and clean scent.
Very clean. Very clean. I was like, she only had like a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, this smells so wonderful. And I'm like putting it on, but yeah, I like that one too. But I think she said she got it while she was in Panama. So there's a couple of different Florida waters out there that I guess like not a lot of people know about. But the Peruvian one is very nice, and that has a much different scent than the Florida water that we're used to. And I know Ifa also makes a Florida water too, which smells really nice.
Well, I'm going to go broke. I do want to, make a mention and, of all of our wonderful guests that are currently in the chat room that have been providing a little feedback and little chats back and forth. We've got Aoife Bayo, we've got Josie Herrera, Wilma Wilson, we have Ambrosine Laguerre, Evelyn Bagorno, as well as Owen Ballard. The Magical Solution, and for the moment, her name is giving me a blank in my head. Yes, Lilani. That's, I saw the business name, and I'm just like, oh, you had to do that to me. So I want to thank them for joining, and making this a great communication between the, everybody here. Because, I love when we have an active chat room, Yeah. So you were at the Big Apple Conjure. Do you have anything new coming up?
We do. Ambrosine, can I announce? Is she still on there?
She is. Let's see if she is.
We are planning another Conjure Gala for next year in New York. Okay.
Okay.
We haven't started yet because there's so many things that I know that she's trying to catch up on.
And she said yes.
Okay. So there's things that I'm trying to catch up on as well. I actually, my calendar for my readings is, I'm pretty much like, booked up. But so I have to catch up on some product making stuff that I need to send out, and I have a couple of things that are coming up in June and again in July. So I'm going to be at Back to the Beach, which is on Staten Island. In July, I think it's like July 18th or something like that. I'm not really sure on the date, but I'll let everyone know, and I'll be there with my products. I'll have my bath bombs, I'll have my scrubs. I'm going to be coming out with a new product line for oils, so they're going to be in like the roller bottles and stuff like that. So some of them will be for courage and upliftment, to help people sleep, to help people relax. I'll have my Passion Love, which right now is one of my most popular oils. I'll also have my planet oils too, for those people who, like to work with the planets and everything like that. But what I wanted to announce with Ambrosine is that we're planning on doing some pop-up conferences in the city, or around the city, Brooklyn, Manhattan, maybe do one on Staten Island, if it's not too much. The community out here is mostly pagan, so it might be a little hard to, but then again, there may be some who will come out.
They'd surprise you.
I wanted to announce, and we are doing another Conjure Gala that's going to be taking place next year, but we'll probably start planning maybe sometime around the end of the summer for the following year.
For New York Conjure Gala 2019. Details will follow, so keep an eye out. Now, there's also, because, I have to give shouts out as well, Palo Kimbisa of, Candelo's Corner. It's 12 o'clock somewhere, is back online, so be sure to check him out. Also, there is the Mile High Conjure coming up in September. So Mile High Conjure Gala, it's conjuregala.com. They're going to have some phenomenal people presenting, Loretta Leesman, Palo Kimbisa, Elaine Bryant, Beverly Smith, Professor Ames, of course, Charles Porterfield and Ambrosine Laguerre, Michelle Jackson, Michael Cardenas, Hoodoo Sen Moise, and of course, Miss Aida. That's going to be a phenomenal event.
Yes,
so
it is. It's going to be really nice, and I'm going to be vending there. I'm not presenting this year, but I am going to be vending in Colorado, but I will be presenting in New York next year.
Nice. So you're going to be vending a lot of your products.
Yes. I'm actually going to be doing several events this year. I'm going to be one busy bee. So we also do Divas Night Out. Divas Night Out is located on Staten Island. It's at Z2 and that is I think that's also in Rossville, if I'm not mistaken. I have to get the date for that. And if anyone else who wants to, vend at Divas Night Out, just let me know. We're going to be doing Back to the Beach, which is in July this year. And there's something else that I'm doing. I can't think of what it is. I'm going to be doing something else as well. But I'll let everyone know when that all comes up. Oh, and the Oracle deck is available for pre-order, and you can purchase on my website. And I will also, they should be printed and ready to go between July 1st and July 15th, because I have to wait to get the proofs back to make sure that everything looks good and I don't have anything that looks tacky and janky. And then I'm going to go to print, and it takes around 3 to 4 weeks. So that's why I'm saying anywhere between July 1st and July 15th of this year.
Nice. I can't wait to see that. And that's available at MissRainsConjure.com. So you can do your pre-orders for, that, or order any of her products or schedule readings, with our phenomenal guests.
And just let everyone know that the first edition deck will have all of the cards. The second edition, when I do go to print those, will be minus between 10 to 15 cards. So if you want to pre-order and you want that first deck that has everything in there, including the ones that I named, civil unrest, domestic abuse, there's one that has with the child abuse and so forth and so on. Those are going to be in the first edition deck. I just want to let everyone know that. Right.
Well, it's important that they know that, because, if they wait too long and the second edition comes out, they're going to miss out on a lot of really great cards.
Absolutely.
And I don't want any listeners to miss out on those, because, they're very important. They're real life, everyday, situations that you are going to deal with as a diviner, that will bring your reading level to the next level. They're going to lift everything, because you're going to have another tool, in your bag that's based on real life, everyday situations that you're going to hear about and that you're going to be reading on. So as a diviner, what's one of the most important things you could recommend for a new diviner, to help them become better at reading or at divining? What do you think they need to have?
For me, I think besides patience, that's one thing that you need to have. But I think what really helped me and really began to, I've always had that second sight, but what really helped me to mold it and to shape it was meditation. So before like I stated earlier, before I have someone that I know I'm going to read for, I do my best to meditate on that person for a few minutes, so I know what I'm going to be walking into. But patience is really something that you need to have when you're divining, and you also really need to listen to spirit and not listen to that person's wants and needs, because that'll override the things that that you're not supposed to be doing for that person and how you need to advise them. Because the whole thing with divining for someone is that it's not just telling them, what you see and, well, maybe, he is cheating on you, and stuff like that. If you come across something like that, what the follow-up should be when you're giving the advice, the feedback should be empowerment. And that's one thing that a lot of women, when they go to a read, especially women, because a lot of women do go to read. Yes. Some men too, okay? There's some men too. I don't find that many. But, a lot of women, when they go to a reader, that's a lot of things that they're looking for. Is he cheating on me? Looking for new love, or, something like that. Or she's I got a witch throwing at me. That you find that a lot. I do anyway. So my whole thing is, patience, listen to spirit, okay? Don't let, the potential to possibly make money, especially if you're a worker, override you listening to spirit.
Yes.
Okay? So that's my advice.
and I'm glad you bring that up, because I bring it up in every show, and I know I upset people that think that maybe they don't have connection to spirit, maybe they don't have connection to their ancestors, or they're not mentally thinking about those particular connections. But the difference between a reader and a diviner, a reader just looks at the cards, they read exactly what the cards show, they put the sentence structure together and say, here it is. A diviner draws upon every single thing they know. They call upon their ancestors, their spiritual guides, their higher self, whatever spirits they work with, to communicate and translate what those cards are saying, to give you more in-depth information, but also solutions. Because, it's not about, oh, is he cheating on me? Yup. It's, what is it that I need to do? How do I get to the underlying situation? What's causing this? How can I change this?
How do I the healing process?
Empowerment is such a powerful thing. And as a diviner, you hold a lot of that in your hand. And if you can't sit there and provide them with the uplifting, nurturing information that they need to empower them, please send them to somebody that can.
Yes, because the whole thing is what we've been running into in the spiritual community is people who are not either divining or divining properly. And there are a lot of people who are getting hurt or being taken advantage of financially.
Yes.
So by the time they get to someone who can actually help them, they're disgruntled, they're angry, and they're broke.
Yes. And it's a horrible thing. As diviners or priests or whatever, you have to be invested in your client's life as much as they are.
Have them for a half hour.
Yeah, you're not just a couch for them to sit there and say, hey, here's my problems. And somebody well, how do you feel about that? No, we don't do that. We want you to get from point A to point B. We want you to be happy. We want you to get over the domestic violence. We want you to get over the trauma that you've been through, to begin healing. And, I don't myself handle domestic violence issues. It's not my special thing. I will always refer somebody. If I sit down and I'm doing a reading and I see this is what's coming up, I don't take any of their money. I will send them to somebody that I know deals specifically with these types of issues, because it's outside my ballpark.
Right, it's outside my skill set, and I've done that as well. I've referred, clients to other people, because I knew or heard spirit say, nah, girl, you can't handle this. This ain't for you. Whether my skill set is, I can handle it, it's just not something that I'm supposed to expose myself to. And I'll refer them to another person, because at the end of the day, it's not really about the money. It's about making sure that that person gets the proper help. And one thing too is that, my name is it's my reputation. It's on the
exactly.
line. So I don't, want to be one of those workers that everybody's like, ooh, girl, don't go to her. She'll fuck your whole shit up. And I don't want to be one of those people.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I can't handle something, or if it's something that I shouldn't handle, then I'll refer them. And then there's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is people see the potential to make a lot of money. Okay? I'm going to charge this person $1,500 for a breakup jar with some peppers and stuff around it to make it hot. Oh, God.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, please. We're not going to get started on that. But $1,500 to do a breakup jar. And, other things have happened besides that. You know what I mean? Or, I'm going to make some, let me make some cootie cat washes.
Oh,
And
God.
I'm going to give somebody a really nasty infection or a parasite from one of those petals that happen to be inside or on that rose petal or whatever it is that you're using, and that's your reputation. That's you hurting someone. But people, when they're seeing the potential to make a lot of money, because you can make money doing what we're doing, they're not going to care how they do it, who they hurt, and what the end result is going to be. And that's a problem.
It is. Owen Ballard said, in his view, a diviner is also part psychologist. Not all clients are always ready to receive all the information that we as diviners receive. And we have the responsibility to determine accurately what they're ready to hear. And it's not always what we think. No,
because some people can't handle, hearing, truth. So a lot of times, when you're talking to a person, you can pretty much assess what they can and cannot handle. And not to say that I'm not going to tell you the truth. I'm probably going to talk to you like I would talk to my 14-year-old. Versus if, you're someone who, I'm getting a feel that you want to hear it. No, you want to hear it no matter how it comes out. Then I'm going to talk to you just like I would to speak to, someone who's, my age, or you understand what I'm saying? That
yes,
that you're strong enough to hear that.
It's
there's
not
people that you have to handle with kid gloves, and there's some people that just like give it to me raw.
Right, and it's not that you are babying any client. You are choosing your words for them so they can best understand in a positive way the information that's coming.
You get off the phone with you.
Right, because it's all about them. It's not about us. I don't make a lot of money doing what I do because I love what I do, and I do what I do because my spirits press me to stay on one lane. And I also have agreements with all my spirits. If I screw up, mess up, fuck up, do things I'm not supposed to do, charge people I shouldn't be charging, read for people that I shouldn't, and I don't sit there and push people towards others that can help them, they give me silent treatment. Because that's the agreement that I have with my spirits.
Or so, they'll block you.
Exactly.
They'll block you for a time being, and that's kind of, well, one of the reasons why I know why, like things have pretty much slowed down for me is because, I put up some things because I had a ritual that I was doing, and then I went away, and a lot of my work is not complete. So until my work is complete, and this was a message I got from Spirit, until your work is complete, everything is going to slow down for you. And that's fine. So I'll be able to really focus and concentrate on doing these last 3 jobs that I have to do for people. 2 of them are road openings. I love doing positive work and helping people that way. Sometimes when, I get like the cursing work, I could curse a motherfucker, but, I like doing pleasant stuff. I'm not going to say that I'm going to shy away from doing anything negative, but I really like to do things that empower people and help them. It makes me feel good about what I'm doing.
Right. And it's important that we do what it is that we are good at. Like, I'm single. I've been single so long, I don't do love work anymore. Why come to me if you want somebody to do love work? I ain't got none. For me, it makes... Well, yeah. But for me, it's, I would rather send somebody to another worker that I know specializes in love work, seems to have all their shit together. They've got a wonderful family. They've got a beautiful spiritual community. They're surrounded by all of this love energy. They would have much more to put into work than just my self-love, So, there are other things. I love divining. I love reading. I love teaching. I love teaching about reading. I love every kind of divination there is, and if I live long enough, I will try and learn it all. At least what I'm allowed to,
Yeah.
But, as spiritual beings, it's one of those things that you really have to invest in your client as much as they're sitting down investing in you, because that's what it's really about. It's a connection between two people. You know, they're not just the checkbook at the other end of the table. You know,
No.
they're living, breathing people that have been hurt, traumatized, abused, lost, confused. Sometimes they have some mental issues, you know, and we have to work with those the best way that we can. And sometimes that means, you know, referring them to somebody else.
Absolutely. And they'll be much grateful to you for it, because they may come back to you for something else. I mean, I've had that happen. Okay, well, maybe I couldn't help you with this issue, but they'll come back to me knowing that I could help them with something else, or they'll just come back and buy some products, you know? So, and that's how I've maintained, you know, the people that, you know, come and, you know, come to Miss Rain's Conjure, and, you know, that are repeat customers or repeat clients. That's pretty much how we've worked. And a lot of them have been referred out. I'm sorry I can't help you with this one, you know, but I'm still here for you. And they will come back to me, you know, and they'll be like, you know what? I have one client, you know, who I referred out for some legal work because I wasn't comfortable doing it. Okay, I knew what her son's situation was, and I wasn't comfortable in taking care of that for her. All right, so I referred her out to someone, and the work did, and this is someone who, you know, like was like, damn, I could do the legal work, and I trusted that person, and it just didn't pan out for her the way she expected. And she came back to me and she said, I don't care how you feel about, you know, doing this. If you don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to anybody else but you. I was like, okay, you know, that's the level of trust that I have with her. You know, I'm not doing any more legal work for her, but, you know, I do other things for her.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, people will come back to you when they know that you are honest from the heart, that you are looking out for their best interests. And, yeah, you know, you may not do work for them this particular time or read on this particular situation, but they will remember that, you know what,
right,
this person could have just taken my money, and they didn't. You know, they referred me to somebody they felt could do a better job, that has more experience in this particular area, you know, and that's one of those things that we have to look at. You know, there's a lot in spiritual work that, you know, we can do and can't do, and we always have to divine on pretty much everything we do. And Spirit trumps everything. You know, if Spirit says, absolutely not, absolutely
nope,
not.
It doesn't get done. Or
you know,
it's not even sometimes that, you know, the skill set doesn't match, you know, what the client is coming to you for. It's more or less like, nah, you should not expose yourself to this. And a lot of times I will have to say no, not because I can't do it, it's because I shouldn't do it.
Right.
You know, I've taken on work that I shouldn't, you know, and especially in the beginning, I did take on some things that I shouldn't do, and, you know, Spirit kicked my ass for it. I mean, it got done. It just took a long time. But, you know, I had a couple of people who were a real pain in the ass that I was just like, I would never help you again. But that's because it was work that I should not have exposed myself to. So, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah, and we all do. I've been there, done that myself, and I always kick myself, you know, when I was learning out. And my godmother, as beautiful as she was, you know, let me fall on my own and watch me have to pick myself up and learn the lesson that you just can't always do it all.
No.
You know, and sometimes even your godparents telling you, look, I don't think you should do this, but you're probably not going to listen, so we'll let it pan out and see where it goes. And you learn those hard lessons, you know, and it's much easier if you heed advice at the beginning and say, you know what, I don't think I'm ready for this yet. Let me find somebody that is. And, you know, push things to other people. You know, we're a community of people that support each other and that sit there and help lift each other up. And my losing a few $100 doesn't mean anything if my client's not going to be happy. You know, there are going to be times where somebody will push work towards me or ask me to divine for somebody that they feel I'm more suited for. And other times where I'm going to send them to other people. You know, like, I don't do ancestor readings. You know, I send them to people like...
ancestor readings either, but
you
I
know,
refer them to Andrea.
Yep.
To Amberzine.
I'll refer them to Andrea. I'll refer them to Owen Ballard, you know, depending on the
Owen
tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I need to, I'll refer to other people because these are things that they do. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. I will like to learn, you know, soon, but that's not a part of my skill set, doing ancestor readings, although ancestors have popped up during some of my readings. That's not what I'm doing. You know, if I have like a message to relay, you know, if I've connected with that person's spirit that way, then yeah, I'll relay the message. But for the most part, no, I do not do ancestor readings. It's not part of my skill set, although
Right.
I would love to.
And you will. You will. Don't worry. That's coming. Yeah. It all takes time. You know, I do want to make mention of, you know, the Divination Tables website, thedivinationtable.com, where you can find out all about all the up-and-coming guests, all about how to contact a reader, as every single reader that's on the show that I pick has their own listing. So it'll have their contact information, their bio, you know, their email, if they have a website address. So anybody that's listening that wants to contact, you know, our beautiful guest, you know, after the show, you'll find a link, which I'll also post, you know, with all of her contact info, with her website. You know, it'll have her picture, it'll have her bio. So you'll have an easy way and a one-stop place to come for. You could even listen to the shows directly on the site, you know. So it's all going to be in one place, and I will be expanding. There's a lot of things going on, and I kind of feel the need that I'm going to need to do an events special area on the site with up-and-coming calendars of events, classes, workshops, you know, events that are going on, you know, things in the community. And I just need people that are listening, you know, to start sending me information. You know, the divination table at gmail.com. So if you have up-and-coming things, you know, let me know so I can post them and advertise them and get them listed so that, you know, all of the beautiful listeners and viewers have some place that they can tune into and know when all of these special events and dates are going to be.
Cool. And I would definitely let you know when things are coming up, especially for those people who live in the tri-state area and would like to attend the pop-up sessions that Amberzine and I are going to be doing, and probably I'm probably speaking ahead of myself, but maybe having, like, you know, a special guest also within the tri-state area that could come and, you know, do a class besides whatever else that Amberzine and I are going to be doing. And I think we're going to have a really fun summer. You know, doing these little pop-up sessions. I have a lot of interest. I have a pretty decent Instagram following. So, you know, there's people who, you know, these people, you know, want to learn, and they want to be around people who are authentic. So, and there are a lot of them are young workers, some of them are older workers. So we're going to have a great time. And whatever other events that are coming up in New York that I will be involved in or that I know of that people can attend, I will let you know.
I would be most appreciative because, you know, I love promoting, you know, and I love promoting all of the spiritual people in my community, all the ones that support me and lift me and guide me and help me. You know, it's an exchange for me to give back, you know, to all of these beautiful people that have been my guests, that have been there for me for years, you know, even previous show that I co-hosted, you know. I wouldn't be where I am, I wouldn't be who I am without all of your support, you know, and I love every single one of you.
And thank you, Michael, and thank you, everyone who came out to listen tonight, because this is like maybe my second time at the rodeo, and I was kind of nervous doing it.
You shouldn't be nervous. I mean, I just have this way.
I don't really speak in public. I'm not very good at it. I'm really good on paper. I can speak to someone one-to-one, when I'm doing a reading or something like that. But, for the most part, I never did.
Yeah, but you know what?
Public.
Yeah, but you know what? I have this way of having communication in just a certain way that you're going to shine no matter what.
Well,
and you do. Before we go, I'd love you to just go over your contact information, how our wonderful listeners and viewers can get a hold of you if they want a reading, order products, learn about your new deck coming, What's the best way to reach you?
There's several different ways. So one is my website, which is msrainsconjure.com. That's msrainsconjure.com. There's my email, rainsconjureshop@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram as Miss Rains Conjure Shop, I believe it is, or Rains Conjure Shop. I think I am on Instagram. Rains _conjure _shop. I'm also on Facebook as Miss Rains Conjure Shop. Also as Magical Empress Inc., which is the umbrella for Real Life Oracle. So if you wanted to come and see what cards I have, well, I don't have all of the cards listed, but I have a majority of them are on Magical Empress Inc., which is on Facebook. So you can come and take a look and see what I have going on there. I also have a Facebook group called Experienced Tarot Readers and Root Workers. It's a closed group, so if you wanted to join and just come in, where there's no drama, we don't do that in that group. And we have a pretty, I think we have like a little over 400 people, and you could come in, join the group and ask questions and post pictures, and as long as you're respectful and everything like that, we are perfectly fine in having you, and we welcome, new people that are coming in. So those are all of the avenues that you can get in contact with me.
Absolutely wonderful. I popped a lot of that into the chat room as well. I'll be adding those. I might have to double check a couple things with you later to make sure I have all of the contact info correct. But I want to say thank you to all of our wonderful listeners, all the beautiful people in our chat room, that have joined us. Make sure to check out thedivinationtable.com for all the up-and-coming guests. We have a wonderful list of people coming on, just like Lelia tonight and all of our guests from the past. Would you love to say our final goodbyes for tonight?
I would like to thank Michael for having me on the show. It was a blessing and a pleasure as well. And I would like to thank all of the listeners who came out to hear me tonight. And I hope that you enjoyed our show. And thank you again.
And thank you. And we'll see you again next week, Thursday, live at 7 p.m. Eastern for another edition of The Divination Table. Have a beautiful night and God bless.
Thank you, Michael. Have a good night, everyone.